Hello everyone, welcome back to Tuition Masters, and today we are here with session number 2 for our biology grade 10 of the chapter Control and Coordination. So in the previous session, it was a session number 1 where we discussed an introduction about nervous system and all those things and impulse transmission, and today we are here with a session number 2. So let's see what we are going to discuss today. So in the today's session we are going to understand all about brain. So about the brain, the forebrain, hindbrain, sorry, forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, spinal cord. We are going to study about all about the brain and the spinal cord only. So in the today's session, it's all about the structure of brain. So make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you didn't do it till now. So let's start with a concept that is brain structure, function, everything. Right now, what is brain? When I talk about brain, it's located in the skull cavity, and that's also known as cranium. That skull cavity is also known as the cranium. Now that cranium is nothing but a bony box where the brain is stored. It is the bony part that protects the. Now if you touch your head above where your hairs are there, and touch it, you, it is hard, right? Now is that brain? No, that is the cranium. Brain wouldn't be so hard, right? But if it hits like that, any so much time we get hurt on our head, right? Or the brain would get damaged. So that is why to protect it, there is cranium. Okay, that upper part is made up of cranium. All right. Now, the average human brain, it weighs approximately 1.3 to 1.5 kg. That's the weight. Volume is 1550 cc, and the brain, it is a grayish in color, and it's made up of many neurons, millions of neurons. Neurons are nothing but the structural, it is the structural and functional unit of brain. Okay, the structure and functional unit of brain is neuron. So that's when you like our entire body is made up of millions of cells, right? Similarly, brain is made up of millions of neurons. Now, apart from the skull bone, brain is even protected by many layers of membranes. All right, it's not that only we have the cranium over. After cranium, brain directly comes. No. Now, after before the brain, there are few more layers of membranes. So these membranous layers protecting the brain, they are known as meninges. Okay, meninges are also the layers which protect the brain. Now, what are the order from the skull bone? Okay, from the skull bone, here you can see the diagram from the skull bone inwards direction. First, when you have the dura mater, then arachnoid mater, pia mater. Okay, so that is the membranes we have above the brain. Okay, so first one, talk about dura mater. So it is the outermost layer of meninges. Okay, that lie directly underneath the bones of the skull and vertebral column. Okay, it is directly underneath the bones of skull. Means the exactly below the cranium we have the dura mater. Okay, and even in the vertebral column, it is very thick, tough, and inextendable. Okay, it's inextensible. So it's very tough and thick so that brain doesn't get any damage. After dura mater, we have the arachnoid. Okay, that is the middle layer of the meninges. So meninges, the middle layer is arachnoid mater. It directly lies under the dura mater, and it contains a fluid known as cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, which acts as a cushion to the brain. So cushion to the brain so that it can nicely be protected and leisured. There's a fluid which is known as cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, present in the arachnoid mater. Okay, next is the pia mater. Now the pia mater is very thin and tightly adhered to the surface of the brain and spinal cord. So it's like to the brain and spinal cord, it is totally stuck to it. It is sticked to it. Now here you can see the yellow part I've highlighted, that is the pia mater. Now pia mater, it's present in the spinal cord also, and it's present in the brain as well. So and it is super tightly fixed, it is like sticked to that. Okay, that is the pia mater. So above the brain we have the pia mater, arachnoid, dura mater, and then we have the skull, and then we have the skin also. You can understand we have 5 layers. After the 5 layers the brain comes. Okay, now What is this function of the meninges? They basically provide a framework for the cerebral and cranial vasculature. So for the cerebral, which is in the brain part, as well as the cranium vascular structure, the meninges make a framework like the skeleton does. Okay, now acting with cerebrospinal fluid to protect the CNS, central nervous system, from mechanical damages. Now, as I said, arachnoid mater, it has the cerebrospinal fluid which helps in the protection of CNS from damage. Now, between the arachnoid mater and pia mater, as I said, there's a fluid known as CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so uh, meninges includes all the three matter, dura, arachnoid, and pia mater. All of them together make the meninges. Now, the space between the covering membranes is filled with a watery substance, that is cerebrospinal fluid. It acts as a cushion to the and protects the brain from shocks. Any shocks are there, it will protect the brain from that. That is a cerebrospinal. Okay, CSF. Now, it fills the central spaces known as ventricles of the brain, and even the central canal of the spinal cord. So basically, a brain needs to rest. Okay, for that resting, cerebrospinal fluid is present. Okay, and it even fills up the space and like areolar tissue. It even fills the faces of brain and the canal of the spinal cord. There also cerebrospinal fluid is present. Now comes the functions. Now what are the functions of this fluid? It provides nourishment to the brain, nourishment, moisture it gives to the brain. It does the exchange of materials. If any event or something wants to go inside or something goes outside, materials are exchanged through this. Then it even absorbs shock in case of any injury to protect the damage of brain. So if there's any injury, so that the brain doesn't get a shock or attack, so what happens, it absorbs that shock. So cerebrospinal fluid absorbs it. Okay, now regions of brain. Now after the five layers we get the brain. Now brain is composed of three major parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Now these have more and more parts in them. Little bit complicated, but yes, if you understand, listen carefully, it will be easy. Let's start with the forebrain. Now forebrain is also known as prosencephalon. Okay, prosencephalon is also known as the forebrain. It is the largest part of the brain. Now, the forebrain has three parts known as cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus, and all these make up the diencephalon. Okay, so cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus, they are known as the diencephalon, and they make the forebrain. All right. Now, what are the functions? First one, cerebrum. It consists of cerebrum, which is also known as cerebral cortex, and it is the 85% of the brain. So, more than half of the brain is made up of cerebrum only. This is divided into two cerebral hemispheres, left and right, which is connected with many tissues known as corpus callosum. Now, see what happens. We have two sides of brain, the left brain and the right brain. Okay, now each of these are divided. Okay, this and each of the parts are the cerebrums. All right, now in the cerebrum there is the basal nuclei. Okay, and below the cerebrum we have the cerebellum. Okay, cerebellum are the nothing but the connective tissues. Okay, now these two hemispheres, who is joining them? Is there a glue? Yes, there is a kind of glue. That glue is nothing but this glue. This is joining them, known as the corpus callosum. So corpus callosum joins both the cerebral hemisphere of the brain. Okay, now brain, it has wrinkled appearance with lots of folds present. Okay, these folds are known as the groove. Now you see, if you ever seen a brain in real life, or you may see in the diagrams of brain and pictures of brain, you might have seen how the brain looks. It has many foldings and curved in it, right? Now that is known as the grooves of the brain. Now sulci singular sulcus, it refers to the indentations or inner folds. Okay, these folds, in the brain, that part, this part is known as the sulci. Now next is gyri. Gyri, or known as the gyrus, also it refers to the ridges or upper folds. The inner folds inside, that is known as sulcus, and these upper folds are known as the gyrus. Okay. Now, each cerebral hemisphere is hollow internally, okay, and they have walls and have two regions: outer cortex and inner medulla. Now, basically, there is a gray matter, then there's a white matter, then there is the cerebral cortex also. So inside the cerebral hemispheres, they're entirely empty, they're hollow. Okay. Now what happened is the grayish appearance of the brain. Now brain, if you see, why is it mostly grayish in color? Because it has the presence of many cell bodies of neurons. There are many neurons, and that is also known as the gray matter cortex. So that gray matter is kind of a pigment which is present. Now, in the inner part of the brain, it has whitish appearance. Why? Because the presence of the axons of neurons. That is known as the white matter medulla. Okay, so understand this. Now, outer covering, the outer brain, if you see, that is the grayish in color due to the cortex, gray matter cortex. Inner, it is white due to the white matter medulla. Okay, so grayish color is from the cortex, whitish color inside is from the medulla. Now outside it has cell bodies of the cytons of neurons. Okay, outside the brain the cyton of neurons are there, but below, inside the brain, the axons of neurons are present. All right. Now the highly developed cortex, that is the gray matter, it enables us to think, reason out, invent, plan, and memorize. Okay. Now cerebrum is the seat of intelligence, consciousness, and willpower. So in our brain, we have so many different parts which help in speech, smell, recognition, touch, pressure, language, body awareness, motor control. Everything is done by brain only, isn't it? So this cortex, the cortex is the thing which helps to think. If anything is asked to us, we can think about it with the help of cortex. Memorizing, planning something, reasoning, that is done by the cortex. Now next is thalamus. In the forebrain, we are currently in the forebrain only. Okay, students, we are in the forebrain. Next is thalamus. Thalamus, now the cerebrum wraps around a structure called the thalamus. It's the major coordinating center for sensoring and motor signaling. Okay, motor signaling, then uh, censoring it, and the coordination, thalamus is used. All right. Now it relays pain and pressure impulses to the cerebrum. So whatever pain or pressure is that, it will go, that impulses will go through the neurons in the cerebrum. All right. Now next is the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus means it's at the base of thalamus. This is my thalamus. Below that will be my hypothalamus. All right. So it is below the thalamus. Now, what is the function? It contains the centers which control body temperature, urge for eating and drinking. Okay, so eating, drinking, all of those things, right? Body temperature, it is controlled by the hypothalamus. Even our day-to-day expression, the emotional reaction, sexual behavior, all of this regulation is also done by the hypothalamus. Now, forebrain has many different kind of regions that receive impulses, okay, from the receptors. Like there are specific areas for vision, smell, speech, touch, pressure, language, then concentration. All of these things are present in the forebrain. It has many parts, okay, and each part does it function differently. All right. So, what are the three parts we studied in forebrain? Forebrain has the cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus. Moving towards the next, that is the midbrain. Midbrain connects the, it is the in the middle. Okay, it connects the forebrain also. It connects the forebrain and the hindbrain. Fore and hind connected by midbrain, and it acts as a bridge. It's a bridge which carries the signals from hindbrain and forebrain. All right. Now, midbrain is also known as mesencephalon. Mesencephalon is also known as the midbrain. Now, midbrain, what is it responsible for? It is responsible where we do not think. Thinking, intelligence, all of that are in the forebrain. Midbrain, no thinking is done. Like moving of chair, blinking of eyes, pulling back of hot on touching the stimulus, right? They all are controlled by midbrain. We do not have to think. Automatically they are happening, right? Involuntarily. That is the midbrain. Okay. Next is regulation of body temperature, releasing the hormones pituitary, testosterone, progesterone. All those things are also controlled by the midbrain only. Okay. Now comes the hindbrain. Hindbrain is also known as the rhombophyncelon. Okay, it consists of the medulla, pons, and the cerebellum. Okay, now cerebellum I'm talking. Cerebrum is in the forebrain. Cerebellum is below the forebrain, right? The fibrous tissue that is present in the hindbrain. Okay, so now midbrain also has many parts in this, but it's not possible to study each and every part. When you go ahead and take science as your a brain surgeon, you become a brain surgeon to do that and study each and everything. So right now, as per going our NCRT, right, we will go other that way. Now, as I said, hindbrain consists of medulla, pons, and the cerebellum. Okay. Now, so what is the cerebellum? Cerebellum is nothing but known as the little brain. It is a small brain. Why? Because exactly below the brain we have the cerebellum. It also looks like a brain only. Okay, it is very much smaller than the brain, and it's just at the base and under the large cerebrum. Under the cerebrum we have the cerebellum. Okay, it has many furrows, outer cortex made up of gray matter, and it even has white matter which in the median section appears like branching tree. So see, it has the gray matter outside the cortex, right? Inner there is the medulla. So it is known as a little brain because it is exactly matching with the brain. All right. Now, what are the functions? Activity like walking in a straight line, riding a bicycle, picking up a pencil. All of this are controlled by the hindbrain. Okay, called the cerebellum. All right. Now, see, whenever you walk, why don't you go simply like this, like this? When you normally walk, okay, intentionally not intentionally. Normally, when you always walk in a straight line, but intentionally you can go anywhere you want. But originally, okay, in when you're intentionally going, you're always walking a straight line. That is due to the cerebellum. Cycling, holding of pencil, picking it up, that is due to the cerebellum. All right. Next is the medulla oblongata. Now, okay, now medulla oblongata is the lowest portion of the brain, and it's at the base of the skull. Now here you see the spinal cord. Just above the spinal cord we have the medulla oblongata. Now it is roughly triangular in shape and continued behind as the spinal cord. So spinal cord, that is the extension of the medulla oblongata. Now, all the involuntary actions like blood pressure, salivation, vomiting are controlled by the medulla. Now, can you increase your blood pressure, decrease? No, it's not in our heart, not in our hands. Salivating, whenever you something very yummy, you automatically start to salivate, isn't it? Then vomiting, can you vomit on your own? Is it in your will? No. Okay, I want to vomit today, let's go and vomit. No, it won't happen. So all such involuntary kind of actions are controlled by the oblongata. Next is the pons. Now pons is located below the cerebellum. Okay, just below the cerebellum we have the pons. You can look at the diagram, it's important. Now it may acts as a relay center between the cerebellum and the forebrain. Okay, it is the respiratory center. Now even respiration has to take place, right? So that therefore, when I talk about respiration, it takes place through the pons. All right. Now, next is the spinal cord. Okay, we are going towards the spinal cord, the last part of today's session. Now, spinal cord, when I talk, is very long, thin, tube kind of structure which is made up of many nervous tissue, and it extends from the medulla to the lumbar region of the vertebral column. So here you see it connects to the brain, it connects to the medulla oblongata and continues to go till the coccyx, that is the tailbone. Now the top part is known as cervical, middle is thoracic, and last is the lumbar. Okay, then the last one sacrum and the tail. Now in spinal cord there is arrangement of white and gray matter is reversed from that in brain. Okay, it is reversed. Okay, white matter is outside, gray matter is inside, it is opposite. Now the gray matter containing the cell bodies of motor, that is efferent and association neurons, lie in the inner side. Now association neurons and efferent, they come in the inside. Okay, they come in the inside, the cell bodies, whereas the white matter, it consists of the axons, okay, which are outside. So you understand the cell bodies in brain are inside, okay, and sorry, the cell body is outside in brain and axons are inside the brain. But in spinal cord it is opposite. Okay, in spinal cord the site on the cell bodies are inside and axons are outside. Okay, that is the opposite arrangement. Now there is this very small central canal in the center which runs the entire length, and it is continuous with the cavities of brain. So the central canal carries all the cavities of brain and it is filled with the CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. Now it acts as a shock-proof cushion again, and it makes a medium for the exchange of food materials, waste products, respiratory gases with neurons. So respiratory gases, waste products, the excretory material and all that is filled with it and along with neurons. Again, spinal cord is also covered with three members because it's very important, right? Again, the dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater. All right. So, the spinal cord is concerned with what functions? Connecting the nervous system of the body, that is the peripheral nervous system, PNS, peripheral nervous system, to the brain, and even as the coordination center between brain and muscle of the thoracic region and the limbs. So, thoracic region, limbs, and their connection with the brain. It is also done by the spinal cord, the coordination between them. So, and that is all about our today's session. Thank you so much for attending. I hope it was informative and we did all the parts of the brain as well as the spinal cord. In our next session, we're going to come up with more such interesting video of reflex actions and more other movements. So stay tuned. Alright, stay tuned to our channel. Make sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you didn't do it till now. Make sure to comment. I'll be seeing you very soon in upcoming videos. Till then, take care and goodbye.